have a little tear in my eye because not only did he say penultimate, but he made a dad joke with the monkeying around part right before he did it. So, Poro, shout out to you. That's what I'm using this time for. Cameron, the second time in a row when we left the desk, monkey business has come up. They brought him up. There's better expectations for their performance. This is the second time that they've tried to earn their spot. It's sort of that promotional process or win the Challengers Cup, and it's just not teeing off. It doesn't. Is it the macro game?
I don't know.
Like they can fight. I don't know either. I'm trying to get my head around what's happening with the monkeys. Maybe if you guys in chat, if you intimately know monkey business and can tell us what this bunch of bananas isn't doing quite right, I would be interested in getting your perspective. Let's have some fun. Let's hear what you guys think. All right, planes coming in. Not north to south, sort of east to west, south. I hate this plane. Can I tell you that? Can I just say that?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Because of the map, Miramar is so forgiving on plane paths. You don't often elicit a reaction like this from us, but this one's pretty garbage.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it because the whole El Pozo option, La Cabrera, even to a certain extent, like the water treatment and stuff, just doesn't feel super relevant. Not because you can't get there, but because the chances of getting that circle are so violently low with where this plane pathing is. It makes it a non-factor, which basically means we're only playing half the map, Cameron, and that, you know, Miramar's big. That makes me grumpy.
Yeah, you already saw just last game how fighting with vehicles can be a bit of a rough one. That is going to make it even worse. And then, oh, Lord, the shift like this. Do we want to say 45% is water if we include the Prison Island as water? Is that a fair...
Well, that's fair if you include Prison Island. But hey, maybe we'll get a Prison Island circle? Maybe?
We'll count it as land later on, but as it stands right now, the only time we're going to see people go there, at least in Phase 1 or Phase 2, is as a rotation. If it hard shifts in that direction, then that's a totally different conversation. We can open up that can of worms then. But at least for now, it's not going to be that bad. I just worry about the teams that have to flex super far towards the west side and are going towards the northwest, like La Cabrera or El Pozo. I'm looking at the map, and so far no one's really rotating that way, but that makes me worried about initial engagement. There are so many teams stacked around this central area where Clueless are. They have Cozy to their west, Rarity to their east, Elusive to their south, and then there's everyone is immediately surrounding them. These rotations outside of Picado are bad enough as it is. This one's going to be even worse.
It's an absolutely brutal circle. Now, I guess the upside of this circle is because of the terrain down there, despite the fact that 45% is going to be sort of unethical, like terrain for them to play. There's a lot of nooks and crannies. There's a lot of deviation in terms of height and different kinds of hiding spots. So I do think we'll probably see a good amount of teams moving in to the next couple of phases here. The problem is if you don't get that shift, once everyone's found their spot, they can get really, really tough. So I think look for some of the middle locations to fill up pretty quickly. And then from there, it's just a bit of a crapshoot. So we'll see how this plays out. If you are a northern team like Gravity, this is a team that has a long order ahead of them. I assume that they'll go with a long rotation. Are there any other options? Can they justify pushing straight down the middle, or is this a guaranteed wraparound from them?
We've seen some sends that somehow are successful, but no, I agree. It's got to be the full long wrapping rotation. Send this right now. Wait, is this a rotation to the loot spot or a rotation to the circle? They did drop out of the plane pretty early, so if they want to rotate to the circle now, it's a very early send, but they want to actually try and race people there. So if you're looking at Gravity on the north side, Monkey Business on the north side, and then even Ascendancy are somewhat north, these teams are generally, you don't see them try and make a very quick break for the circle when they're this far away, because they know they're not going to get there first anyway. So let's just spend that extra time looting up and making sure that we have the best gear available. Look at the map, and I think that's what they're doing. There may be sort of vultures looting on the east side highway, but if they just try and race people, that's going to be, we'll see how that one works out, because there are already a number of teams already in this circle, Rarity being one of them. They're already going toe-to-toe with a few shots from Liberate, and Nate's in a really rough position, because that's a duo that just pulled out in front of him.
Nice. Vulture looting. I like that. We'll stick with that term. So Liberate and Rarity going to face off. Now, Rarity is a team that at the start of the day, I expected to be significantly higher up on the leaderboards. Struggling a little bit today, and Liberate's not going to make it any easier for them as Hello Senpai does unleash. Innate will make his transition, and now it's Croach's time to try and make his play as he goes past. Senpai switches over to the M4 and continues to open fire, but again, it seems like everyone will just get by with no issues. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, it would have pulled away. I think Guab and Hello Senpai were unable to get into a position to fully capitalize on that little bit of a mix-up of rotation. They're going back into their own vehicles, and unfortunately, because they pulled that stop, they're now going to be a little late to their own move. And Elusive pushing through. They're more on actually the central side of things. And they're getting shot at by a number of different angles, Orion being one of them, taking the high ground above them. But if they go too far, they could run into Supremacy. But instead, it looks like they might have their eyes on this compound here. They're trying to go on the southern side of the circle. They're trying to alleviate all the pressure. I will say,
oh no, the door.
Confident about this decision. This compound, it might be dead center of the circle, but this is phase 1. Center isn't nearly as valuable, and I'd like to see them go for more of a pressure play, a control play, and that usually means high ground. This compound, I don't see it.
The compound is a tuck in and defend a sort of grab versus grabbing up above that and sort of controlling your area. Hard to collect a lot of information there as well, but we'll see how it plays out. Now let's jump over to our aggressive team, Keck W Kiers. We saw them play very... Oh, wait, hold on. Hold up. Liberate and Rarity is popping off. Deadeye tries to get the peek, looks around, and ultimately they do win. That fight started all the way back when Liberate watched the rotations, didn't get any knocks, and then apparently decided, hey, we're coming in anyway. And Rarity not only wins the fight, Cameron, they get 4 up, and they get all the loots.
Yeah, that's huge for Rarity to survive with all 4 members. Didn't see how that fight started off, so really hard to make a judgment call either way on who had the advantage in that engagement. Liberate's in 3rd place coming into this match, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue for them. More of a wake-up call that they can't just steamroll over all the opposition in the Challengers Cup, but a good pickup for Rarity. Already said that they were low down coming into this game. They're 13th place, so this is the start that they needed, keeping 4 up, and the injection of loot and the 4 extra points doesn't hurt either.
And the confidence. Let us not forget how valuable confidence and rhythm is in this game. And getting the 4-man wipe against a team like Liberate, which is not a slouch of a team, is going to potentially give them the boost I think they need to come through on top in this match. So let's keep an eye on them. Elusive and everyone else on the map taking some shots as number 1 Tater, the ultimate potato, the best Spud, the top tuber, manages to get himself up here on top of the hill. I ran out of potato puns.
That's fine. You actually that was a lot more than I would have ever expected.
Thank you.
Elusive had an opportunity to take them out, but weren't able to land their shots there, and now gives Orion a little bit of piece of extra information. I don't necessarily want to call it control just yet. Generally, like you want to look at the higher ground around that area, and that's further towards the west side before I make that call. But a lot of this circle isn't just that big brown mountainous strip down on the south side. A lot of this is still around the Chuma area, around the Los Leones areas, and a lot of teams are still on that part. It's going to be a northern hard shift for it to stay up here, but because so many teams are all coming in from the same direction, it forces them to take it slow and steady as it goes. Ascendant's also rotating in, continue that eastern rotation.
Oh, bummer. Flashed his lights to get him to stop. Nice plays, Auburn. Or Raven, sorry. Nice play, stops him there. We're trying for the flip over. I tried that once and blew my friend up. Be careful. That said, the circle didn't really change a lot, to be completely honest. It's just another circle that is essentially the same. Nobody was trying to hold that northern part anyway, which just extends phase 1 a little bit further. I guess you could argue, Cameron, extends phase 2, or started phase 2 early, maybe is a better way to say it. F to honk. That's my favorite license plate. Do you remember when we used to say that to people? I don't know if you remember. When the game first came out, people were like, how do you honk? F. And they'd fall. And it was wonderful.
No, I don't actually remember that. I guess I wasn't playing back in those days. But the next circle is going to be a medium shift towards the west. But as far as what the playable land is, it's a hard shift towards the southwest. And so Cozy Crew have a have basically the pickings of the litter for where they want to go here. They're going to converge back onto one solid location, not be as spread as they previously were, but they're going to be contending with Clueless and Keck W for, I think, the strongest positions here. There's a lot of low ground that teams like Elusive, like even Orion a little bit, are going to be having to manage, as well as Gravity still now just arriving on the north side into phase 1.
So many teams in such a small space. 15 teams up, 60 players alive, and it feels like that game we used to play as kids called Sardines, where you would find another person and sort of just tuck in and wait to see if you could last a little bit longer as everybody tries to find. Did you play that game? Did you play Sardines?
I have no clue what you're talking about. This is some older than Bruno stuff.
We also used to push a hoop down the road with a stick.
Yeah, this is like Great Depression. We have nothing to do to entertain ourselves other than torture the neighborhood cat.
Oh, Tiddlywinks was a fine game indeed. All right, so it was like hide and seek, basically, and everybody had to hide in close quarters. That's all there is to it. All right, Pubg. Yes, it was like, so when you found somebody, instead of finding them and like them being out, you had to hide with them. So there was one hider, and everybody looked for him or her, and then sort of hid with them until the last person, was like the odd man out or whatever.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
You'd end up with like 6 kids in a trash can, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, so Ripper up on top of the hill here as Supremacy does have a man down. Maji, he's not going for the rescue on Maji yet. He's a little worried, and the time that he's taken will allow Supremacy to move into a position to potentially punish him if he does go for the res.
He's waiting for the push. Regnar's going to be in the low ground, though. Might be a little unexpected, and the rest of Ascendance is also arriving. Not to mention Maji down in that position. Should be able to give a little bit of information with the scout. I think the call might have been made. Ripper really enjoying those energy drinks.
Well,
I consider popping a second. He wants to be fully stimmed for this engagement, but Maji has yet to get picked up.
Ripper was like a preview to how I prep for a cast. Bet going to go up on top of the rocks here. And nobody wants to go down. They're just going to let Maji sort of be what it is, and he will die. Looks like we're going to see the crawl back. Supremacy will actually get the res, I think, at the end of the day.
Maybe. There's a couple of shots from a teammate arriving. Fem's coming up. It's going to keep Ascendance pinned in.
And once Maji dies, they have no vision down there. So Honey can just say, okay, he's down. Come give me the res, and there's nothing they can do about it. So that should be a quick pickup for Supremacy, and they'll be at an advantage potentially going into what's inevitably going to be a fight here against Ascendance.
This is so weird by Ascendance. With shots farther range as well. That's from the last member of Supremacy all the way on the far end, but Femme Fatale does go down. That position was huge, but again, more shots continuing to push them away. And the northern push by the rest of Supremacy, they're staying inside. They're still not confirming these kills, and that's allowing Hyuni and Reknar to come up.
They're trying to move in. He's low, so Fem will ultimately very likely bleed out here as Beck decides to fall back. Another knock on Reknar's Raven, putting in some serious work. Supremacy played this kind of passive, and it's really coming back to bite them. They did all of that time guarding the downed man, and then Femme Fatale pushed in while the other two were still coming back from the res. I guess I don't understand. Why make the solo play?
I don't know for either of these teams. The Ascendants are also playing this surprisingly passive, but Raven's landing a bunch of shots and he wants to go for a couple more. He does not want to allow Reknar to get picked up.
There you go.
Pushing the res, but Hyuni with the flip around, staying alive, falling back to heal up himself before they can go for the revive onto Reknar, and Beck is here for the revive and the reset onto Ascendants.
All right, he posts forward, goes ahead with the flash out. Beck onto the low ground as he pushes Honey back. Nice cover from above. Ripper gets a nice play on Reknar. Honey does go down, and Ascendancy is on the low ground. Get the flush and will fall back to get Sovereign.
This is such a weird fight between both of these squads. And while it's happening, the circle shifts heavily towards the west once again. So Cozy, they can just tuck on in, grab their mug of hot cocoa, and just hang out, watch some TV, because everyone else is going to have to fight each other to climb up this mountain.
Big question. Do you put the little marshmallows in your hot cocoa, or do you like it just straight up hot cocoa?
This straight up hot cocoa.
I'm with you. I think the little marshmallows, you accidentally drink them, and then you choke, and it just ruins the whole experience.
Well, okay, I'm not... I know how to chew my food. I just don't find it necessary to add the extra sugar.
Oh, it's a health thing. I don't concern myself with those details. All right, let's take a look at ELPX as they are going to shoot down on Ascendance after what was a strange little battle between those two teams. Monster, ELPX has quite a bit of vision cover over this entire compound. That's actually Interesting.
How are they going to utilize that to push in, though?
I think you leave. There's no value here.
There's no reason to commit on this game because there is still a lot of hard cover that Ascendants are potentially hiding in those buildings, and they have to make their way past this giant choke point here. So many teams on the eastern side of this cliff. Yeah, a lot of them are fighting each other, but they could easily get caught in the crossfire. No Cap, here's the push, going for this raid.
No. Pubg opens fire and makes the play. They spent too long shooting at Send for no benefit, and now they're caught on the downhill smash as Cap just opens up. Pubg has range. He's locked the rest of ELPX down the hill, and the guys have to try to get up. They've already lost one, and look, Adit's already going for a very aggressive flank. The question is, does Ascendants use this as a chance to come out and try to make a play?
They have to. The Blues coming in. They might have an angle onto this. See a couple of shots from them, but Caesar's going to peek up. Not going to get the knock.
What
Has
is
to
happening?
fall back into the smoke, and Ripper and Beck from Ascendant on the outside have an opportunity to push in.
Nice. Detonator ends up taking out Pubg. He wasn't even one of the two teams originally start in the fight.
It's close. That revive was close.
Elusive has the circle and the high ground as they come and get involved as the fourth team in this little bit of a mess. And we'll just sit at the top of the hill and allow it to go on. Caesar does manage to get used to Ugly and the flush, so he'll go down getting a little bit of an advantage for ELPX for just a second, but ultimately is finished off and executed. Now it's Ascendancy still trying to make their way up, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to make this push. Elusive came in as capitalizing.
Yeah, they're just cleaning up shop here. They have to move themselves because the circle swings up towards the northeast. They have to push up this hill into Rarity. And then, of course, into the survivors of Orion and PDS, whoever that might be. And so they're pulling away. They don't want to... Bex is going to try and bait them out as much as he can. But ultimately, it's going to be a waste of time if they commit too heavily into some sad soul out in the blue. Northern side. Push from onto Clueless. Knocks coming out from both sides. NHS gets down. That's 3 down for Clueless. Where's the last member?
Not in a position to help right now. Here he comes. Habino! Let's go, Habfam! Up and out the outside. They don't look. Nobody knows where he is. He's coming from behind. Absolutely lambast 3. There's the last man on the peak. Habino with the wiggle waggle smack. Knocks him down. Gets all 4 out. Wins the fight. But at what cost, Cameron? At what cost? It was more of a rhetorical question.
Well, either way. He has a lot of loot to hang with. We have to imagine. Maybe he can try and med up in the blue and a heal strat as long as you can. Try and bring that school meta back.
If there's a member of Clueless that I want to pick as sort of my go the distance solo, I'm sure most of those viewers would also say, let's give it to Hambino and see what he can do. It was a great backstab. Phenomenal backstab. Unfortunately, TC just wasn't ready, as it was basically a backstab onto a backstab, and it cost him big time. The upside for Ham is that there is a team right below them that got pinned down. They tried to make a counter push and were unable to get up the hill, so that will buy him a little bit of space. In the meantime, Cozy, who controls the entire middle of the circle, gets themselves a nice knockdown. God, how do you get Cozy out of there? This is such a good spot.
Yeah, the high ground, the potential hard cover. They have a wide spread overlooking everything. The only downside would be perhaps the potential for not too many kills because everyone else is going to be fighting each other before they crawl up what is essentially Mount Olympus here. Rarity now trying to find out the last snake there is in Pro Zone Snake of Skazka. Going to hide behind a tree, just barely in on the edge. And on the west side, play for fun. 4 up, 0 kills. Trying to take the sort of the open side of the circle on the west angle. Haven't had to engage really with anyone, it seems. Trying to take a couple of shots. They recognize that the open run might be a little dangerous once at least UMAD crosses over that cliffside.
They got to get out of that compound, though. I don't like that low ground split. I think why they were there originally, but at this point, there's not a lot of options. Like, the longer you wait, the more teams like Gravity start to move up the hill and put you in a really tough position on the next rotation. So we'll see what they do. Maybe it's just more fun to be in the compound. We'll find out. Jay All Day and the 3 remaining members of Elusive are going to rotate around the south side. They did manage to get to the circle without butting up against Rarity, Karen, which we were a little worried about for them. That said, the circle will shift again, and now they have to deal with Orion and Rarity, but they do have a straight shot to hard cover if they make the move quickly.
board like that. I don't know if you want to call it hardcover because there are those big open slots. But yeah, they can at least get to the circle and have something akin to hardcover. Just trying to scout out to the west side, spot around so they don't get stabbed in the back of themselves because they are coming in late onto the edge. But Soto does finally remove the rest of Orion. No, I said that they could have been in a good position last game. Now Orion have a really big hill decline because
it's a team that everybody
in their favor.
We all want them to do well. It's a frustrating day. I'm sure for them as well as all of the fans. But you know what? Tomorrow is a new day. Lots of points available and on the board, and if they can start off the next match with a big boom, it'll give them the right trajectory into tomorrow. So I'm not writing Orion off just yet. They've proven many, many times that they have the ability to pull it together and make some big plays. Let's take a look at Gravity, who has also showed us some pretty sick plays here lately. Reno going to peek up over the top of the hill. It sounds like Pankill may have heard him. He did now. And he's going to try to get a play. This could be what's needed to open the door to the cozy compound. Mount Olympus, as you put it, the gods have been seen. Tetra comes up to the top to try to make a save play, but Reno is just too far out. Pankill going to start throwing those nades up there and opening Olympus. Tetra with a smart slide out to the right side may have a counterplay in mind.
Problem is, like, Gravity, they can't just do a push-up like that anymore because now they're discovered. D-Rich has also been picked up, so it does give them an advantage in this engagement. But while that's happening, they should be aware of Hambino hanging around the north of this. And so instead of taking on this engagement directly, they're going to take that 1 point, that 1 free kill, and then just push to the circle, circumventing that position.
KW Keys do have a man in the middle, so we'll keep you updated on that as the development goes through. Virtue with 4 players up. We'll jump to Battylal's perspective. As you can see, pros don't snake just below them, and there's the KW spot. It is right smack in the middle, and Virtue is closing from a 2-2 split sort of in that direction. If they can eliminate the last snake from pros do snake, they will be able to control a significant portion of this circle and really put themselves in a good spot to maybe come out with the win on this one, depending on the next play.
Yeah, the only issue is they have a little bit of a low ground, but that crossfire positioning with the 2-2 split should be good. Spotted.
No.
Takes them out. So Gravity now have their own element of control on the northern side, and they're putting a little bit of split of their own, it seems like. Skaska just lying in wait, not going to be moving until the next phase happens. There's going to be some fighting on the southern side between Rarity and Elusive, and the circle is going to be somewhat center, but a little bit of a medium shift towards the northwest. Retaliative is just hanging out, not worrying at all, and Gravity have a really good position with this shift.
I was skeptical about this Virtue split. It felt a little bit long, but I think with this circle, it's actually going to come out pretty favorable for them as long as PDS doesn't spoil, because they can lock up the 2 approaches, keep there until the blue starts to come in, and then they own a piece of the pie that potentially gets them a high round finish, which I think they could definitely go for right now. If I remember correctly, PDS is in 12th place with only 5th. I'm sorry, we're not talking about PDS. PDS is in 12th place with 15 points. So I'd like to see them make a move as well here.
Mad opening fire. First couple of shots don't exactly land. Forced back by Nitrogen on the balcony, but a lot of damage onto him because of the support from the rest of Play for Fun. Grenades coming in. Tetra gets fully confirmed, but that's a member of Gravity also wanting in on this fight. Vexel answers back a little bit, but you said in over the fence.
All right, they come forward. You said trying to get an angle. For an update, what I was trying to say is Virtue's in 7th with 23. A win here would put them comfortably in the top 5, which I think they'd love to have getting ready to go into tomorrow after the next game. USAD starts to push forward into the cozy compound. Remember, Olympus was breached, and you can see a lot of teams are starting to sort of come around here and look for some action. We do see the end of Vexel. And Nitrogen just sort of locked down inside of the long compound without much in the way of options. Play for Fun, 174S is just holding him.
Yeah, Nitrogen under house arrest, but Play for Fun, they were able to get into the compound, but they lose 2 and only get 1 kill in the meantime because just the oppression that Gravity have with that high ground position overlooking them. Really difficult for any of these teams to manage. Nitrogen also retreating, heard the footsteps away and know there's a little bit of an angle, but USAD is watching the peak from behind the corner, expecting it to happen. It's all about landing the shots, but actually pulls away at the perfect time for Nitrogen. He sneaks away in the middle of a night like a cat thief.
Like a cat thief. That's when he steals cats, or is that like a cat burglar?
Yeah, cat burglar.
Okay. I don't know if there's cat thieving is an issue in New York. You never know with New York right now. In 8, coming up over the top. No. And over the top of the hill, opens fire, and good distraction play by his teammate to let them move forward and eliminate sneak attack. Elusive goes down, and Rarity will continue their push forward. They need some points. They're in 13th currently with only 14 on the docket. 4 alive, though, Cameron. This could change very quickly. They could move up very, very fast.
They had 14. They now have 24 with their 9 placement points so far. Make that 25. Quick math. God, this is so bad. Up with that kill on the nitrogen, as well as the extra placement. Paul puts them up with a 26. Find a crate as well, because why not?
Blind crate, though. You ever loot a crate blind? Not easy. Sunny Rarity does fall back. They've got a pretty decent spot here to make the rest of their plays. They've got the south, really, and they can hold this ridge line. They can wait for the circle to close. They've got 2 players already inside of the next circle, really, or they go and they dig out the last member of KEKW Kiers here and have a pretty decent spot to hunker down and guarantee a 3rd or 4th place finish, minimum. No, he has not moved, Cameron. So I don't think anybody has any idea he's in there right now. Wait, he stood up. They're aware now. They're aware now.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, you got to nade that check either way. So good call here by Rarity. He's actually, was he playing on the back side of that check? Not actually inside, but he is going to burn out. Deada's going to see that in the kill feed. Be a little confused for a second and then put it all together. We're looking at our top 4 right now. Protozoa Snake still a player alive. Skazka is still up, still undiscovered.
Undiscovered, the sneakiest of the snakes. Ultimately, we do have a ton of players left on this one, and it is going to be a throwdown. 2 teams with 4, Virtue with 3, and PDS as the lone spoiler who could cost Virtue potentially as players are trying to butt up against him. So we'll see how that plays out. Gravity on the high ground has to be a scary premise for everyone else as they're up there. I think I saw some SLRs. I saw some big things ready to put some work in. Zovrin with an SLR is not a prospect you want to deal with if you are Virtue.
Oh, already 5 kills for them. But he said this high ground could easily net them so much more. Rarity are putting a lot of their players, a lot of their utility, their firepower on this west side ridge line, shooting at
Look at Deadeye. Holy crap.
Side. But then again, so is everyone going to be shooting at Virtue here.
Deadeye did it. He found him. He found PDS. Look how far spread Deadeye is right now. He is insanely far away from the rest of his team.
Another headshot on Tanaka to open things up.
Oh my gosh. Rarity's basically doing the cleanup that I think Gravity needed, and it may cost him because Deadeye is going to basically, I think, have to face off against Virtue potentially, and Rarity's going to have to deal with Gravity because Gravity hears the shooting. They can come down here and cause some trouble.
Oh, Virtue do pull up towards the north. I do agree, though. I think Deadeye would be better suited, putting a little more attention onto the Gravity side of things. He's going to flip over, spot a couple of opportunities. Oh, don't worry. He moved right when you shot. That's not your fault at all. Tried to go for some more great shots. Unfortunately, shooting uphill is a little more difficult than the other way around. But Deadeye's landed so many nice, sweet bolt action headshots, not just this gaming, his entire career. So it's definitely going for more. There it is, on to D-Rich.
Appropriate name, right? Uses the bolty, Deadeye, gets D-Rich. This guy's a legend. I love it. I love to see it. You don't get enough bolt action in comp play anymore for understandable reasons, but it is fun to see Rarity running it.
Hey, he's playing the classics. He's trying to bring it back.
Respect. All right, let's see. SDR still in a tough spot. They are playing the low ground very effectively, but the circle shifts hard to the north. I don't know if that's a yoink, a yeet, or a F to pay respects to Rarity because they are going to have a very difficult time moving forward here. Gravity has a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's really big for them right now. Rarity are in the circle, but just barely. And if they approach either Virtue or Gravity, they're going to get shot up by the opposite sides. But luckily, those teams are also shooting at each other. This could give a little bit of an opportunity, but Gravity know that they have this team pinned down. They're going to be, they should be checking every once in a while. A little bit of a peek over, and Nate's going to dodge that. Pulling out the long range weapon to go for the shots. It's all about landing the headshots on any curious neighbors peeking over the side.
Oh, Deadeye does go down to Zovrin. That's going to be a big hurt for them, but they will have time to res. That does open the door, though, for the team on the top, Gravity, to maybe refocus just a little bit and hold Virtue off. Virtue has been inching towards them, and you can actually see them falling back. They inched up there, and then they saw Gravity start to give them some more aggressive peeking, decide it is just not worth it. Right now, it feels like Virtue is just saying, let's let the other guys fight.
Nate right now trying to go for the wide flank onto Gravity.
Like
this could be huge
like
if he spots
it.
Sovereign. A little bit of attention onto D-Rich. He's spotted by Virtue, proning down, got a med. I don't know if Gravity are going to call that based off of that information.
He's going to find D-Rich. D-Rich has no idea as he comes up over the hill. He thinks it's his teammate, not another player. He opens fire. He gets one, but from the right, he's too exposed. He takes the shot straight ahead from Pankill. Zoverin behind the box. They had no idea Zoverin was there. He gets the double whap, and Rarity goes down, opening the door for Gravity as they go for the heal. Remember, they did take a loss, though. Virtue tries to capitalize and pushes up the hill. Lipson is down. Pankill trying to defend as Tanaka comes up aggressively, trying to bully his way up onto the high ground. Goes for the reload of the peak, but it doesn't work. If only he had a few more bullets. Gravity comes out on top. Cameron with 12 kills. What a game.
I mean, those ending circles, yes, Gravity had a huge advantage there, but they had to deter two flanks. First by a nade, and then by Tanaka. And yeah, they have the high ground, but those, you can't watch every single angle. And Nate specifically could have just destroyed their entire game. But Zoverin, I believe, not being spotted from behind that crate is really what saved them. Rarity goes down, and then Virtue immediately after. And coming into that late game, only 5 kills. They ended with a 12-kill win. Really good game at the end there for Gravity.
Absolutely. Big game, and all the teams in the final 3 kind of needed it, Cameron. Virtue started this round at 7, Gravity started at 9, and Rarity started all the way down in 13th. And in a tournament where there's only 12 games to play, those are going to be very meaningful for all 3 of them. And I got to be honest, I think they all played it very, very well. I was very impressed with Rarity in particular, and how they handled that, especially Deadeye. Like, Deadeye makes bolts look good, man.
Really does. Really, really does.
So you know who else makes bolts look good and pink shirts? It's Porosaurus. Let's go back there and hear more about stuff that is interesting.
Debatable.
Yeah, I don't know about... look, hey, I can make stuff interesting, but I am absolute garbage at bolts. But either way, Game 5 in the books on Miramar, and we get a Gravity win off of a pretty interesting southern circle there, Clover.
You know, Gravity really liked to play that north edge the first half of that game. They were keeping it safe, and yet somehow found themselves in a prime position for the circle. A little bit confounding. I think obviously we'll go to that into the replays in a moment. We kind of get to see how they got there, but that circle was not initially doing favors for them until the mid game, right? When they found themselves in a nice position up in the high ground, kind of off on their own to the west. And it seemed like at least through the late, we're able to get into that position without too much pressure.
And I think we even talked about the fact that, you know, they made this super late rotation coming down from the northwest, and it ended up paying off some pretty big dividends there, Godspeed.
It did. However, the other team I also really want to point out is the Rarities. I don't know if you noticed, but they had quite a few kills to their name going into the end game there. And we actually talked about it. SDR, I mean, they have some crazy moments where they really show us what type of a team they are, but it's just they're so inconsistent.
Well, I mean, I think that's the problem for most of the teams that are down here in the Challenger Cup from PCS3, right? Is that kind of inconsistency that wound them up here. But I think we have some highlights ready to go, so let's look at those while we talk about what Rarity was able to pull off there with about 12 kills. Deadeye was really making that bolt do work, and this is kind of how things got rolling, Clover.
How it got rolling indeed, and they were able to fully recover from that fight and keep it up through the late game. But look at this, Clueless and Monkey Business already just kind of starting to fall apart, and we can see off in the distance again, Gravity setting up for this. But Hambino able to get a little bit of damage onto that, and you see so close. Monkey Business tried to stay alive through this, and here you go, right? Gravity starting to work their way in from the edge, but Phase 5, this is pretty much their first fight onto this, pushing out Cozy Crew for this position on the west.
That was a huge fight for them too, because Cozy Crew, like you said, was dug in like a tick and probably the best position in this game. But play for fun, doing some favors for Gravity there.
Play for fun they did definitely help, but Gravity, I just like the way that, again, they were proactive and they came out very early. Lipson hung out in the back there as the other 2 members of Gravity went up towards the top. That was a disgusting shot, by the way.
Follow it up. Give a second one. Oh, no, they didn't show both in a row.
Sure.
That double bolty.
But also Zobrin's
nuts.
play here on the crate, like they really earned this win. There's no way to take it away from Gravity. They played for that win and they got it. STR as well was playing out of their minds, getting so many kills, so many impact kills as well, knocking teams out, letting other teams move in. It was just it was a wild game, man. It was a wild game, and I just like the way that Gravity played it.
Absolutely. Well, Clover, what did you think about that rarity push there at the end? I know, I kind of made a mention about what I thought about it. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are.
I had really strong kind of opinions about that. Like Godspeed said, Gravity played really great that game. We really can't take it away. I think the reason that we have some reservations is we worry that going forward, that style of play may not reward them like it did this match. And so you don't want to reward, and occasionally I'd say bad habits, but through that position, Gravity had to come down from the high ground as we went forward to phase 9. And both San Diego Rarity and Virtue were in a position to hold down their position a little bit longer, lower in the ground, closer to that phase 9 point, and just wait for Gravity to come for them. But we saw these unsuccessful pushes kind of coming through for Rarity where they fell. I mean, Innate was pretty visible to Battylol, and the rest of Virtue were taking shots at him, and we saw he was able to get at least 1 knock, but it was traded back out. Additionally, through Virtue, right, kind of opened themselves up to being spotted once they got a little bit too close for Gravity, and that was the end of the game. So I think there was a lot for some of those teams up in the late game where they could have maybe made different decisions and would have had vastly different results for these 3 teams.
Godspeed?
No, I agree with pretty much everything that she said. It's super boring.
Oh, that's easy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
It is
Well,
what
I
it is.
strongly disagree. I love it. I love the push by Rarity there. I think, I think what I like. Okay, let me get my thoughts squared up here. I think what I like the most. Words are very, very difficult sometimes,
Just feeling real passionate about this.
especially for me. No, I am passionate about this, right? Because okay, San Diego Rarity, by the time they go out, they have 12 kills, right? They're playing from the low ground. You got Gravity up on the high side. They've got smoke walls. You've got Virtue playing from the other side. They're not even getting involved for whatever reason. They just no lines of sight or whatever. But then I think that the push that San Diego Rarity made trying to take over Gravity on the top is a confidence push. That's a push that says we've got 12 kills already. We feel like we can actually fight this out and frag it out. And it didn't go their way, but at the same time, I like that from them. So let's take a look at our leaderboard from that one. Gravity coming in first with 22 points. San Diego Rarity right behind him with 18. And wow, there is quite a drop off.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Sorry, go ahead. I would say it is quite a drop-off, but I do want to point out this is the second time that we've seen Ascendants obviously go out early, but put down a lot of kills. And so I'm really proud to see that for them, but I kind of want to find a bit of a balance, right? I want them to have lots of kills and some placement points.
Yeah, but as far as me, I agreed with you 100% in the last points, but I actually really think, Clover, that they're playing this lobby correctly. Ascendants is just playing for the kills because they know in the end, whether or not they're going to find consistent placements or not, this is how you play a lobby with only 12 games in it. So I actually think they're doing a great job. And not to say that you said they were doing a poor job, but I actually prefer them to go for the kills in the sense that going for placement really hasn't worked for anyone. I mean, even looking at a team like Team Clueless, they had a lot of placement points, but that's just 2 wins. So I just really like where Ascendance is as far as the way that they're accumulating these points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, look, hey, Ascendance and Liberate both kind of opting for that same strategy, and they're currently sitting right around the same spot in the leaderboard, which we'll get to here in a second. Let's take a look at the match kill and damage. Pankill with a 6-piece and a biscuit on the side. Deadeye, we saw what he could do with those bolties there. I heard tell that Deadeye is probably the only player in the competitive scene right now that you actually prefer him to carry a bolty. Do you agree, Godspeed?
I mean, he's pretty damn good with a bolt. I can't deny that. I don't know.
You want him to run an SLR so bad, don't you?
I mean, I do love. My favorite DMR is actually the SKS. I love that gun to death.
Yeah,
SLR is quite.
Hey,
good.
you're weird.
You're weird.
I'm Team SKS too, Poro. Sorry.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about, Clover. Let's go.
These are absolutely bananas. There's no way.
I mean, I'm bananas with the SKS.
Bananas for
Ooh,
the
okay.
Yeah, we'll take it. Here's our overall leaderboard. Team Clueless still holding on to that first place spot, but again, they just cannot shake the KEKW Kiers. They are right behind them at every point, just nipping at their heels, and now Gravity is going to find themselves up there as well. But there you go, right behind them, Liberating Ascendants. No chicken dinners, but they're right behind, and they're still holding on to these top 4 and 5 spots. Now, it is worth mentioning that the cutoff, I believe, for the cash prize, or where it switches over, is first through fourth, I think, get 1,500, yep. And then fifth through eighth is 1,000, and then it's 500 everything on the right side of the leaderboard. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that 4th and 5th spot. But out of us, I guess since we're talking about Liberating Ascendants, Clover, who do you think out of those two teams, based off of what you've seen so far today, is more likely to get their first chicken dinner?
I'm going to go with Liberate. I know, obviously, they're just barely inching out Ascendance Esports, but I think that we've seen them make it to the late game. We've seen them get chicken dinners, obviously, even, kind of coming out of PCS3 on a little bit of a high. I kind of have faith that if they can just get a little bit more confidence in this, obviously doing well for themselves on Miramar, maybe we can get a chicken dinner.
We see our overall damage leader, Sharu, still holding on to it, but Beck making a nice little run for it himself. He got 5 kills in that last game, despite Ascendants going out in 11th place. Godspeed. I know we looked at that leaderboard. Something worth note here, the top 8 is all PCS3 teams, with the exception of KEKW Kiers.